Sometimes just a single sentence from Scripture can stop you in your tracks. Today, we're going to look at one of those sentences. And it's so clear, so direct, it can almost feel unsettling because it takes this thing we think we understand, religion, and completely reframes it. So it really begs the question right from the start. What if the religion that God actually accepts is not the one that most of us are practicing? What if what heaven recognizes looks fundamentally different from what fills our traditions, our buildings, and our social media feeds? And here it is. This is the verse from the book of James that just lays it all out. Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. Notice what's not there. There's no mention of grand gestures or public displays. It really just boils down to two very specific, very personal things: actively caring for the vulnerable and maintaining your own personal integrity. And when you lay it out like this, you can see just how much this verse flips our common assumptions on their head. On one side, you have what we so often think of as religion, the ceremony, the ritual. But James flips that script entirely. It says that real, pure religion, it's about compassion and purity. It shifts the entire focus from what we do on the outside to who we are becoming on the inside. And this brings us to a really difficult truth: that huge gap that can exist between the appearance of religion and the reality of human need. I mean, think about it. In every single age, it's been easy to perform faith. It really has. In the past, maybe that looked like ancient robes or sacred chants. Today, well, it looks a lot like this. Our faith gets posted, it gets quoted, it gets streamed. The performance is public and it's absolutely everywhere. And yet, after all of that religious activity, suffering people still sit alone. Widows are still forgotten. The abandoned still feel unseen. And that's the paradox, isn't it? Religion is easy when it doesn't cost us anything. So if our performance isn't the point, then what is? Well, that verse from James gives us the actual standard. You could call it heaven's twofold test. And it's not a test of our labels or our sermons. It's a test of something far, far more revealing. Just think about the two groups that James specifically points to here: the orphaned and the widow. Why them? Well, in the ancient world, these were the most vulnerable people in society. They had no social safety net, no voice, no real protection. They're basically a stand-in for anyone society tends to forget or overlook. So here's the crucial point. This is what it all comes down to. God is watching how we treat people, not our religious performance, not the identity we claim, but how we actually show up for other human beings in their most desperate moments. So the test has two sides, and they're both essential. Test number one is compassion. It's a love that doesn't just feel sorry from a distance, but one that actually moves toward suffering and enters into the pain. But test number two is just as critical: holiness, a purity that resists being corrupted by the world around us, whether that's greed or bitterness or the constant pull to join in the outrage. And you absolutely need both, because compassion without holiness, that could just become empty approval. And holiness without compassion, well, that turns into cold, hard pride really fast. Pure religion holds these two together in a perfect, beautiful tension. Now, this isn't just some abstract rule or a theory. This verse, it's actually a perfect portrait of a person. I mean, just look at the life of Jesus. He touched lepers when no one would even go near them. He welcomed children. He defended widows. He ate with the outcasts. At every single turn, he moved toward suffering. And yet, through all of it, he remained perfectly unspotted, perfectly holy. He is the living, breathing definition of pure religion. So what this really means is that this verse, it's not just a set of instructions for us to follow, like a to-do list. It's a call to imitation. It's telling us that our faith only becomes real when our lives actually start to look like the life of Christ. So what do we do with this? What does this mean for us, right here, right now? Well, the source material frames this whole idea not as a heavy burden, but as a really deep and personal invitation. Scripture actually warns us that in the last days, the appearance of religion will increase, while real active love grows cold. That makes this verse from James an incredibly important diagnostic tool, a way for us to see the difference between a faith that's just for show and the kind of authentic faith that truly lasts. And please, please hear this because it's the real heart of the message. This definition of religion, it's not a tool for condemnation. It's not a stick to beat people with. It's an invitation. Because this kind of life, this amazing blend of deep compassion and true holiness, it's not something we can just muscle our way into on our own. Which brings us to the final and really the only question that matters. The question isn't, are you religious? That's the wrong question entirely. The real question is this: is Christ alive in you? Because when his love truly enters a person's heart, that's when real compassion begins to awaken. And when his holiness fills you, purity starts to grow, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And that's really the ultimate takeaway. The kind of religion, the kind of faith that heaven recognizes, it has nothing to do with the labels we claim or the rituals we perform. It has everything to do with the person we are, quietly, day by day, becoming.